Crossfire won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you more of our coverage of the mystery of Flight 370 and other urgent stories we're following here in the Situation Room. From the major raid on Al-Qaeda in Yemen to the deadly crisis in Ukraine, there are new threats that are emanating from around the world. Let's discuss some of those threats. Peter King, the congressman from New York, is joining us. He's a member of the House Homeland Security Committee as well as the Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.
Do you have any doubt that Russian troops, Russian paramilitary forces, Russian intelligence operatives were directly responsible for the unrest in eastern Ukraine?
No, Wolf, I have no doubt at all. I mean, based on our own estimates, based on the NATO commander, based on people on the ground, based on journalists, and just based on what happened in Crimea, I have no doubt at all that Putin and the Russians are behind this. This is part of their concerted effort to take as much of eastern Ukraine as they can, either by diplomatic pressure or, if they have to, by ultimately using troops, claiming they're going in to protect the the Russians in eastern Ukraine.
So what should the U.S. do about it?
There's no easy answer, Wolf, but I think, again, I could be critical of the president up till now, but let's go forward toward the future. One, we should make this more of a priority. We should make it absolutely clear that we're going to do all we can to increase the exporting of liquefied natural gas, that we are going to work with our allies to lessen their reliance on Russia. We have to go much higher, I think, on the list as far as sanctions, going after sanctions, and make it clear to investors around the world that this is not something where we're going to give Putin the exit ramp. We are in this for the long haul. We are going to have a concerted energy policy, a concerted economic policy to keep Russia from expanding or trying to create this new empire. We should be having more military maneuvers with NATO countries in Eastern Europe, Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, also with Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, to make it clear that we are in this. We, in many ways, this is, to me, like 1946, where Churchill and Truman realized that there was a new, but there was a Soviet government that we could not work with. I think we have to right now let Putin know we put him in that category, and we will take whatever economic and diplomatic action is necessary and provide the military hardware and training to our NATO allies.
Ben Rhodes, the president's deputy national security advisor, told our Jay Tapper earlier today that lethal military equipment from the U.S. to Ukraine is not a good idea. It wouldn't bring parity to the situation, he said, could escalate the situation right now. He says that is not the right course. Do you support the U.S. providing lethal military equipment, weapons in effect, to Ukraine?
I would be skeptical right now only because after what happened last week, I don't know how much the Russians have infiltrated Ukraine. I don't know how much the Ukraine military or the Ukraine intelligence forces have been infiltrated by the Russians. But I would give it to Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, any of those countries in the along the perimeter of the Ukraine and Russia.
But all those countries you mentioned are NATO allies. Ukraine is not a NATO ally.
And that's, well, listen, if I thought it would work, I would say, yes, we should give them the military hardware. My only concern right now is how much control the Ukrainian government has over its military. Last week, when the Ukrainian army went in with their tanks, they surrendered basically in a matter of minutes and just turned them over to the pro-Russian elements there. So that's my concern, would be the fact who in the Ukraine is with us, who's with the Russians.
Let's talk about these latest U.S. drone strikes against Al-Qaeda and the Arabian Peninsula targets in Yemen. Based on what you know, and I know you're a member of the Intelligence Committee, the House Homeland Security Committee, did they work? Were they successful?
I've not received briefings, and if I did, I really couldn't discuss them with you, other than to say that if these reports are true, if they are accurate, then I say the president is doing the right thing. That, to me, we had last year slowed down on our use of drones, and sometimes the president seems apologetic about using them. But Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is the most lethal element in the entire Al-Qaeda network. They're the ones with the most capacity. They have people like al-Azhari, who is the leading bomb maker in the terrorist world. They are the ones who have made it their goal to attack the U.S. and to attack U.S. interests. So whatever we can do to decimate the al-Qaeda leadership in Yemen, the al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula leadership, and to weaken them, that's a step, a very strong step in the right direction. So I hope these reports are true, and I hope that we have gotten as many of them as possible.
We're showing our viewers some video, that brazen video that the al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula militants, they posted it themselves. It was pretty high-definition resolution. They were pretty proud. Their faces were seen. It looked like this was almost like a recruiting video for future terrorists. You saw the video, didn't you, Congressman?
Yeah, I did. They actually had the number 2 man in al-Qaeda and the number 1 man in al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Al-Masri was there, and that was very brazen, putting that out. Really a show of defiance. And whether or not there's a connection between that video and these attacks, we'll have to wait and see. But again, if there were, I commend the president for doing it. But again, there was a slowing down in our use of drones over the last year based on published reports. And I think the president sometimes, again, he's apologetic, and I think in some cases has set too many restrictions on our use of drones. But if this attack in effect was carried out, then it was definitely the right thing.
Peter King, the House Homeland Security Committee.